Picture a land of golden sands and towering mountains, where our story begins in ancient Yemen. Here stood King Abraha, gazing proudly at his newly built temple, a palace of marble and jewels that sparkled like stars in the desert sun. But Abraha's pride turned to bitter anger when he saw caravans of people passing by his magnificent temple, heading instead to a simple cubic building in Mecca, the Kaaba, the sacred house of Allah. His voice thundered through his palace halls. "If they won't worship here, then I'll destroy their beloved Kaaba." Soon, the ground trembled under the weight of Abraha's mighty army. Thousands of soldiers marched across the desert, led by an enormous elephant named Mahmud, whose footsteps shook the very earth. The people of Mecca watched in terror as this unstoppable force approached their beloved city. But then, something extraordinary happened. As they reached Mecca's borders, Mahmud, the giant elephant, suddenly stopped. He lowered his massive body to the ground and refused to move another step toward the Kaaba. The soldiers pushed and pulled, but it was as if an invisible hand held the great beast in place. Suddenly, the sky darkened. A sound like rushing wind filled the air as thousands of tiny birds appeared, blocking out the sun itself. Each bird carried small stones in their beaks and claws, stones that glowed like embers in the desert heat. Then, like arrows from heaven, the birds dove toward Abraha's army. The stones they carried weren't ordinary pebbles. They struck with explosive force, piercing through armor and reducing mighty warriors to dust. Abraha himself fled in terror, but could not escape his fate. When the dust settled, the mighty army was gone. Abraha himself fled in terror, but could not escape his fate. When the dust settled, the mighty army was gone. The Kaaba stood untouched, protected by the smallest of Allah's creatures. The people of Mecca wept with joy and gratitude, understanding that they had witnessed a divine miracle. This remarkable event, recorded in the Holy Quran, reminds us that help can come from the most unexpected sources. Even today, the story of the army of the elephant teaches us that no force on earth can prevail against divine protection. After all, who would have thought that tiny birds would defeat the mightiest army of their time? But that's exactly what happened in the year our beloved Prophet Muhammad was born, when Allah protected his sacred house with the weakest of his creatures.